Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I think I was on a bullet train in Japan when I heard that Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States, was called Vladimir Putin's cockholster by none other than Colbert. This is the same Colbert who owes all of his late night success to Donald J. Trump being the most controversial president I've had in my lifetime, and probably some of you have also had in your lifetime. The Democrats are on a mission right now to try to turn Donald Trump into Nixon. But I don't think it's possible because Donald Trump didn't start as Nixon. And the scandal is fake. So the alleged scandal is that the Russians worked with the Trump campaign to influence the outcome of the election. Now, Trump himself was trying to influence the outcome of the election. This is true because he was the candidate trying to win the presidency. Now, let's not lose sight of what the allegation is. The allegation is that the Russians colluded with Donald Trump. And since July, James Comey has not been able to turn up any evidence. And I have a theory about this that the FBI director, the former FBI director, was trying to keep this phony investigation going to boost his political status in Washington. So if you look at all of the evidence, there's absolutely nothing that has turned up to point to Donald Trump doing anything illicit. I mean, the worst thing that they had on him going into the election night was that he wanted to grab women by their private parts. I mean, that's the worst thing they could find on Donald Trump. Now, I thought that there was more, but that's the worst that they could find. And then there's this Russian connection, which is based on a phishing attack against John Podesta. Now, John Podesta saw some link in his email that said, 12-year-old whatever, and he clicked on it, and they said, okay, well, what's your DNC password? And he put it in. And he clicked send, and so they got all of his emails for him and Hillary Clinton. So the Comey thing is interesting because Donald Trump decided to go against the political wisdom, and the political wisdom says, don't fire the FBI director because it might look like you're trying to hide something. But in Donald Trump's mind, he's like, this guy won't stop fucking with me. And it appears that Comey's whole reason for existence has been to keep his status, his power, and his job. So he's put himself in the center of this whole Trump-Russia made-up thing, and he's given it fuel. And I think in Comey's mind, he probably knows that Donald Trump doesn't like him and wants to fire him, so I feel that he's probably tried to keep this thing going. And he's done a couple of things that were I think, unethical. So he stood in front of Congress and made himself judge, and made himself the law enforcement officer, but also the prosecutor. Because of Loretta Lynch's supposed, actual conflict of interest with meeting with Bill Clinton on the tarmac between golf rounds to discuss grandchildren and whatnot. But the next person in line to prosecute that case was not James Comey, the head of the FBI. The next person below Loretta Lynch was the deputy attorney general, and that's the person that should have been prosecuting the case against Hillary Clinton, not James Comey. So James Comey has a knack to kind of put himself in the middle of all of the of everything, and up until Donald Trump fired James Comey, the Democrats wanted him out of the office, and now they're seemingly reversing course just because it's Donald Trump doing it. Now, my personal opinion of what Donald Trump should do, what I would endeavor to do as president would be, I think he needs to do an extreme cleaning of the federal government. He really does need to drain the swamp. I think taking down Comey was the first step in a number of steps that he needs to take. He has gotten rid of Sally Yates, but he really needs to get rid of what some have called as the deep state. I mean, there are holdovers from the Obama administration that have spied on him, who have spied on him and spied on Flynn as well. So I think he really needs to fire a lot more people. Now I wanted to switch gears for a second. Edison Danger, my producer, and I, we're also married. We went to Japan and Taiwan last couple weeks. That's why I think I missed one or two episodes. And I have to say that I really do admire the Japanese culture, and I can see why they almost took over the world. I mean, most of the time you go to Japan, I think things are done pretty well. Like, you go to a hotel and the experience is pretty consistent. Every time I've gone to Japan, I've had a pretty consistently good experience. The first time we went to Fukuoka, which is in the south, and they don't really see that many foreigners there, so it's even more Japanese than where we went this time, which was like Osaka and Kyoto. So when we went to Fukuoka, we went to a place called Mount Yufu, which is a hot spring area and has a lot of small boutique hotels and a lot of onsen, which is the Japanese are crazy about baths. They love baths, and they have all these hot springs in Japan, and this time we went to Osaka, which is a pretty big city, and Kyoto. So the first day we were in Kyoto, and we went from Osaka and then immediately to Kyoto, and we went to a place called the probably gonna butcher. It's the Kiyomizu Dera, which is a really big Buddhist temple, kind of built on almost like they say it's built on a waterfall, but it's like a stream. And it has an incredible view of Kyoto, and it's very peaceful. A lot of the places in Japan, they have a knack for creating like areas with the most peaceful feeling. I don't know how to describe it. It's like you walk through a place and it's just quiet and everybody's quiet, and I don't know why, but it feels very peaceful. So, and the Kiyomizu Dera has like the most incredible views, and we went early in the morning. There wasn't a lot of people, and I don't know, it felt like you were in a big cathedral or something. It's like that same feeling of like kind of awe and a feeling of peace. So I really got a kick out of going there. But while the people of Japan are very friendly. I had an encounter with a large hawk, almost a dragon-sized hawk. We were having a small snack by the river in Kyoto, and I was eating a piece of bread, and just a gigantic bird came down and stole my bread and scratched me in the hand, and like right as I was about to take a bite of it. And so I wouldn't say that I have post-traumatic stress disorder, but I will say that I do notice birds a lot more than I used to. And I have I like, my feeling towards birds used to be, oh great, there's a bird, they're frolicking, they're beautiful. Now I feel like they have a like almost like a dark side, and they're gonna come down and like gouge my eyeball out for the gooey mesh behind it. So that's true. I didn't make that up. Like, a bird really did come down and steal my meal in Kyoto, and I guess that's why there's like nobody along that river eating. I guess I should have figured that out. Now, we did see along that same river, we did see somebody recording like a half naked guy jumping around, a guy in his underwear actually jumping around. And they were recording across the river. And then he put his clothes on, and then he just like rode his bicycle away. So, I don't know if that's a normal day for people in Japan, but I really hope that that the Japanese are not constantly in fear of the birds, because I feel like next time I go to Kyoto, I'm definitely gonna like just take quick bites of my food and look for hawks. So in my short stay in Japan, I feel like the biggest downside was the violent birds. And a related downside is that they don't have the Second Amendment, so you can't shoot them out of the sky, which I think may be necessary just to kind of so we can reclaim our position at the top of the food chain, because I really feel like the birds were trying to leverage me out of the top of the food chain. When we got done in Kyoto, we stayed in a hotel, and we got to the hotel, and I guess it was more like a bed and breakfast. And when we got to the hotel, there was nobody there. It was like you walk in, you open like a door, like a sliding door. There are like tons of sliding doors in Japan. So you open a sliding door, and there was a place to get to out of the rain, but there was no way to get in. So we had to look on our reservation. I had to call a guy in Japan because I couldn't get into my room because there's a code, but there was no code in the email. And like when you're in another country, you're not sure how to, like, if you can call. But I guess I did end up calling the guy, and he gave me the code. And the room we stayed in was called Wind, or it was, it had like a symbol for wind, and we stayed in there. And it was traditional Japanese. It was really cool. It was kind of like in the middle of a lot of the cultural areas of Kyoto. So after we were in Kyoto, we chilled for a little while in Osaka before going back to Taipei, and that's where Edison is from, Taiwan. So in Osaka, we went to this it's like Osaka Castle, I guess is where the shogun used to spend his time. lording over Japan. So I get to learn about, I think the guy's name is Takagawa, and he was basically a farmer who rose up the ranks to become an assistant to a feudal lord, and then became a feudal lord himself. I guess he started out as a farmer, then he became the sandal carrier. And so I asked Edison, I'm like, well, why can't these guys carry their own sandals? And Edison was saying, well, they used to be really heavy. So I guess that used to be a job now. So if you think about innovation taking over jobs in the United States, it's not a new phenomenon. Back then, when they figured out how to make light sandals, the sandal carrier guy lost his job, and he had to figure out another way to make a living. So sometimes it takes historical perspective to realize that our problems are not that unique. I spent the rest of the time with Edison and his family in Taiwan, mostly in Taichung, because his family's there in Taichung. His sister let me ride her scooter, which I think I have to get a scooter now because I love scooters. I mean, I have one. I have a motocross bike, but I kind of like this. The scooters are kind of chill. So she has one that is called a Gogolo, and it's a electric scooter, and basically it runs off some batteries. I think there's 2 batteries, and the thing hauls ass. The power band on an electric anything like hits. Apparently, it hits them immediately because it's just like goes from like, just hits right away. So it's got 2 batteries, and in Taiwan there's Family Marts everywhere. So Family Mart is like a 7-Eleven, but somehow they've managed to cram like 5 times as many convenience stores into the same area that we have in the United States would only have 1 convenience store. I feel like there's Family Marts and 7-Elevens everywhere, and 7-Eleven is like the king, and it's about 100 times better. Ask anybody who's ever been to Taiwan or who's Taiwanese. The 7-Elevens there are phenomenal. I mean, they're much better than the 7-Elevens in the United States. The food is like delicious and fresh. They sell booze there. You can mail your stuff out of there. And at Family Mart, you can switch out the batteries to your Gogolo and get new batteries, which I think is a pretty phenomenal business model. And when you go inside of a 7-Eleven, they all say, Huan Ning Guan Nin, which means like welcome. And I don't think they do that in the United States 7-Eleven. I mean, but on vacation, it is not all fun and games. There's a lot of downtime as well. So I had a lot of time to catch up on some reading I'm doing. I read a book from Peter Thiel called 0 to 1, talking about startups and basically his theory on like the future. And I found it interesting because his whole thought process is that technological innovation, like he has a diagram in there, it's time and it's technological innovation and man's mastery over nature. And you realize that as time goes on and people are more innovative, they control their environment more. And it's a good way to think about it. Like if you look at what's happening with technology right now, probably in the future, you'll probably see a lot of things that were like inconveniences, small inconveniences, just be totally taken care of. Like if you think of being drunk outside of a bar and having to call a cab, that's kind of annoying, having to call a cab and talk to a dispatcher. They're not all, first of all, the dispatcher is not always like the friendliest person. And now you don't have to talk to anybody, which I think in this case is great. I mean, in some cases, it's sometimes you want to talk to somebody, but I think ordering a cab, just having it innovated through Uber or Lyft, was a huge collective weight off of all of the shoulders of consumers. I mean, and I think in the future there will be a lot of that, where just things you didn't even think about. I mean, they're already trying to do it with grocery stores. I think I think what they're trying to do at Amazon is figure out a way where they can get groceries to your house a couple hours after you order them. If they can do that, they'll probably be able to disrupt the whole industry and maybe put grocery stores out of business. I hope not, but now Peter Thiel is part of this, they call it like the PayPal mafia, and so all these guys, they went from PayPal and they're just like, they're doing all this crazy shit in Silicon Valley. And one of them is Elon Musk, who's like, I feel like Elon Musk is like somebody you imagine in a movie, maybe like Iron Man or something, like just some unusual person from the future here to like change everything. So he had a TED interview, and I have a couple, I had Edison arrange a couple clips, and so the first one is Elon Musk and his boring. So Elon Musk is planning on building a tunnel network under LA.
First visualization that's been shown of this. Can I show this?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the first time, we're just to sort of show what we're talking about. So there are a couple of key things that are important in having a 3D tunnel network. First of all, you have to be able to integrate the entrance and exit of the tunnel seamlessly into the fabric of the city. So by having an elevator, sort of a car skate that's on an elevator, you can integrate the entrance and exits to the tunnel network just by using 2 parking spaces. And then the car gets on a skate. There's no speed limit here, so we're designing this to be able to operate at 200 kilometers an hour, about 200 kilometers an hour, or about 130 miles per hour. So you should be able to get from, say, Westwood to LAX in 6 minutes, 5-6 minutes.
So possibly initially done as like on a sort of toll road type basis.
Yeah.
Which I guess alleviates some traffic from the surface streets as well.
So I don't know if you will notice it in the video, but there's no real limit to how many levels of tunnel you can have. So you can go much further deep than you can go up. The deepest mines are much deeper than the tallest buildings are tall. So you can alleviate any arbitrary level of urban congestion with the 3D tunnel network. This is a very important point. So a key rebuttal to the tunnels is that if you add one layer of tunnels, then that will simply alleviate congestion, will get used up, and then you'll be back where you started, back with congestion. But you can go to any arbitrary number of tunnels, any number of levels.
But people seem to...
Now, after riding that electric scooter in Taiwan, I found that I feel that the technology will probably be there for cars just to be pretty much electric. And so if your panties are in a wad over the emissions from cars, I think, I mean, I really do think that 10, 20 years, something, maybe not that soon, but within our lifetime, we're going to see where the majority of cars are probably similar to Teslas, because they continue to try to innovate that technology. And what I found interesting about what Elon Musk was talking about was if you have tunnels where all the all the cars are like on skates, it can pretty much go as fast as whatever, because there's nobody really that has to. I don't think they would even have to drive it. It would just be kind of automatic. Now, Musk in his TED Talk talked about, it wasn't really a talk, it was more like an interview, talked about the future of like self-driving cars. And he made a pretty, I guess it's a bold prediction, but he says it's coming soon with regard to self-driving cars. Take a listen.
So the new cars being sold right now have eight cameras in them.
Yeah.
That they can't yet do what that showed. When will they be able to?
I think we're still on track for being able to go cross country from LA to New York by the end of the year, fully autonomous.
Okay, so a car, by the end of the year, you're saying someone's going to sit in a Tesla without touching the steering wheel, tap in New York, off it goes.
Yeah.
Won't have to ever touch the wheel by the end of 2017.
Yeah, essentially November or December of this year, we should be able to go all the way from a parking lot in California to a parking lot in New York, no controls touched at any point during the entire journey.
Amazing. But part of that is possible because you've already got a fleet of Teslas driving all these roads. You're accumulating a huge amount of data of that national road system.
Yes, but the thing that will be interesting is that I'm actually fairly confident it will be able to do that route even if you change the route dynamically. So like it's fairly easy. If you say I'm going to be really good at one specific route, that's one thing. But it should be able to go really be very good. Certainly, once you enter a highway, to go anywhere on the highway system in a given country. So it's not sort of limited to LA, New York. We could change it and make it Seattle, Florida. That day, or in real time. So you were going from LA to New York, now go from LA to Toronto.
So leaving aside regulation for a second, in terms of the technology alone, the time when someone will be able to buy one of your cars and literally just take their hands off the wheel and go to sleep and wake up and find that they've arrived, how far away is that to do that
I
safely?
think that's about 2 years. The real trick of it is not, how do you make it work, say 99.9% of the time? Because if a car crashes, say 1 in 1,000 times, then you're probably still not going to be comfortable falling asleep. That's, you shouldn't be, certainly. But it's not going to be, it's never going to be perfect. No system is going to be perfect. But if you say it's perhaps...
Now, a few of the other innovations that Elon Musk talks about is, first of all, he is determined to take us to Mars because he thinks that basically in case the Earth is doomed, we should have a plan B, and that it is probably an area that we're not innovating in. Like if you look at space travel, since we've been on the moon, we've actually regressed in terms of space travel. So Elon Musk's company is in the rocket industry because he wants to take us to Mars, but he's also making money on it by launching satellites and payloads into the orbit around the Earth. And one other area that he's looking at, one thing that annoys the crap out of me is these people at Home Depot. They come up to you and they want to install solar panels on your roof, and you have to sign a 30-year lease. And if you want to sell your house, you also have to sell the lease as well. And I think that they're ugly. I don't like solar panels on my roof. I don't think it's attractive. But Elon Musk is working on solar shingles. So if you could put shingles on your roof and they look good and they also have the ability to produce electricity, if they're affordable enough, nobody would mind. I don't think anybody would mind doing that. And he's saying that with the shingles, you probably will have enough electricity to power the needs of your house, and you could actually most of the time be off the grid. And I think that would be amazing. So I found that it was a TED Talk with him, and he's being interviewed. I found it so fascinating, all the things that he's working on. A lot of people in Silicon Valley are working on just changing the way that things are done, making things more convenient, more efficient. If you look at like the Tesla cars, they're something like 2 or 3 times as fuel efficient as like a Prius. I mean, they don't use any gas, but they do require energy. And if you could have, a solar, basically a solar powered house and basically a solar powered grid, and feed that electricity into your car, you would never even, you wouldn't have to pay for any of that energy. That's besides what you pay to Elon Musk to get his solar shingles installed on your roof. So I want to thank you guys for listening to Jeff Danger Radio. Feel free to email me anytime at jeffdangerradio@gmail.com. Should have an episode coming up in about 2 weeks. Again, I want to thank you guys for listening to Jeff Danger Radio.